What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the One Fourth Careers podcast. I'm Xavier, your host, and I'm here with Briana. Briana graduated from Hampton University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in 2019. Now, Briana is working as a digital marketing strategy consultant at Accenture Song. Briana, welcome to the pod. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure. We about to turn up for real. How you been? How's your weekend been?
Yeah, the weekend has been real restful. I would say it's been no complaints so far. Sometimes it's very busy, but this weekend I've been able to stay in and relax. So it's been going very well. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. A lot of family time, a lot of pod stuff, and all the happenings in life. So can't complain. Every day we got an opportunity to get up and make some shake. Is one that I value. So super excited for the episode. To start off, if you could let the listeners and viewers know a little bit more about yourself and share more about your background.
Absolutely. So I am a Durham, North Carolina native, born and raised here in the city of Medicine. So, as many of you may know, it's the home of Duke University and North Carolina Central University. And so, a lot of my time spent growing up was around the culture of like an HBCU. So, I chose to go to the school that I went to because of the rich history that I was able to experience at such a young age. And another fun fact about myself was that I actually went to one of the two historically Black high schools in the nation as well. So,
Ooh.
yeah. So I basically made my on-site admissions decision to attend Hampton University because I knew that an HBCU was going to be right for me.
Subtle flex. That's lit. Look, we always have like the HBCU family, and now we have. Is there an acronym for like? It's only two, so it might not be that big of a like a what HBHS.
Yeah, HBHS, exactly.
Yeah, no, that is super cool. I didn't even know that there were historically Black high schools. Not embarrassed to say, but if other people didn't know, I'm excited that y'all learned that too. See, this is a place of growing and learning. So I think that's super exciting to hear. Well, we are here to talk about your career in digital marketing. But first, our first segment is called The Step Back. A little bit of the sports theme. I'm sure you were around plenty of that with Duke basketball and just basketball in general in the state of North Carolina. But I want to ask you in this Step Back segment, what did you want to be when you were younger?
Yeah, so I am a product of an educator and a nurse slash entrepreneur. So
Mm.
my mother was an educator. My father, he has multiple businesses and he also is an RN. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher. But then as I grew up a little bit more, maybe around high school, I really wanted to own my own business. And the reason being is because my family owns a business. We have Snowy Shaved Ice, which is a concessions business. And it started when I was in high school. So ever since that onset, I basically like dibbled and dabbled in a lot of different areas of business. And I knew that's what I wanted to continue to pursue as I went to college because I wanted to like learn the ins and outs of it from not just like the day to day being an entrepreneur, but also like accounting and all of the different areas that you have to be able to be well versed in to really scale a business.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably even reflected in what you're doing now too. Is you did business in undergrad and accounting, and I'm sure through your family business you've touched on so many different parts, the finances of it all, and now being in marketing, that is another element of scaling a business. So I'm saying what you doing here. You think you slick, but you really out here. You really out here getting all the gems and all the tools. But
Yeah.
take me back to the current role that you're in, being a digital marketing strategy consultant. How would you describe some of your roles and responsibilities and what you're getting out of this position?
Absolutely. So, being a digital marketing strategy consultant is really fun. I do it at Accenture, as you already mentioned. But basically, a consultant is specifically a digital marketing strategy consultant, basically helps businesses figure out the best way to promote their products and their services in physical capacity or online capacity. That could look like through mobile, through applications, through
Mhm.
websites, et cetera, et cetera. And so, I create plans that uses tools like different marketing technology platforms, social media, online ads, etc., to help the brand reach their customers effectively. I also analyze data and I understand different market trends and recommend strategies that will pretty much help the company improve their online presence, attract more customers, and ultimately drive more sales. At the end of the day, it's all about getting that ROI. So we
Mhm.
basically help them improve their revenue through marketing.
Wow, that's amazing. You helping other companies get that moolah through
Mhm.
some effective marketing. Really cool stuff. I'm sure you've had so many cool experiences, which we're actually going to dig into a little bit. And with that, I want to ask, how did you acquire this role at Accenture?
Yeah, so taking a few steps back to college, I was a part of a program that allowed people to gain their MBA, their Master's of Business Administration, within 5 years.
Wow.
Because, usually you go to school for 4 years, you work for a little bit, and then you go back for your MBA. I actually didn't stay for the fifth year because I did want to gain real life experience before getting the MBA. But I will say that the 5 year MBA program at Hampton University is super lucrative, and it essentially had different companies coming to recruit at Hampton University weekly through a class that we took called the Leadership Application Program. And so I was learning about all the different Fortune 500 companies and their corporate roles through that program. And Accenture was one of those companies. We had a lot of alum come back and to express all of their experiences that they've had while working at Accenture. And it was something that really piqued my interest at the time because I, one, wanted to work on teams and collaborate. And number two, I realized that being able to be a consultant, you're able to switch projects, and you're
Yeah.
able to learn more about business through those different projects, and you don't have to spend too much time in just one area. So I
Hmm.
thought it'd be a great foundation for just like my business acumen. But to answer I hope that answered the question. I can dive a little
Yeah.
bit deeper into like the route I took to actually
Yeah.
as
I mean,
well.
honestly, that was really insightful, and that would be great because that was actually kind of next what I was looking at is how did you go from being in the position you were in at Hampton University, getting such amazing experience from each company, and how did you translate with so many options? Because I know you were a really hardworking student and you were getting experiences. What was that experience like into getting into the role at Accenture that you decided to go for?
Yep. So, as I mentioned, weekly we had different corporations come onto campus and recruit, tell us about their programs, their internships, their full time roles, etc. And then we also had an annual career fair. And
Mm,
so I was able to, one, just get in touch with the recruiters when they did come on campus. They usually would be there for about a week long, and I would attend the events. I was always punctual. They always mentioned that was so important to just
yeah.
show up and be your absolute best self. I always asked questions by the end of the event, and I would just have a resume on hand when I would go to these on campus events. And I would, if they ever asked for it, I would give them my resume and make sure I kept in touch with them. I think another really good tip that I was given was that it's so important to follow up with the recruiters as well. So not only do you meet them in person, but it's important to send them shoot them a quick email afterward and tell them how amazing it was to meet them, and what you're looking forward to in the school during the school year. So once the time rolled around for the career fair, they at least remembered my name or that I had talked to them before. And I could also email them after the career fair saying, hey, it was great seeing you again, so that they can
Yeah.
keep me in mind. Um, so, yeah.
Wow. You were suited and booted. You always were on your P's and Q's. And I also saw from your LinkedIn, you actually worked in the career center. So all these things that you did to acquire your role in the way that you were navigating campus and different professional opportunities, it sounds like you were also trying to help your peers and other students kind of learn different ways that they could approach trying to secure full-time positions, internships, and all of that. So I think that probably really helped as well, you working in the career center too, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. I didn't get a chance to work in the career center as much, just because of all the things that I was doing, but I feel like I really would have enjoyed that. Hence the fact, we're here doing this, right? So this in a way is kind of on that same spectrum of what you did. And I think that was really helpful because it really speaks to how through experiences you can develop skills, or how people perceive you as being functional, people perceive you as ready and you're following up. They kind of branch into skills a little bit, your communication skills, the way that you're able to show up, and kind of have like a branding skill. It's almost like a marketing skill for yourself. Like,
Mhm.
to be honest, like I think that's another way that people can look at it. I have a question about skills, as we were kind of mentioning before, wanting to know what skills you feel are really important that have served you to thrive in your current role as a digital marketing consultant.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So, as a digital marketing consultant, the first skill that comes to mind is technical proficiency. So,
Mm,
having familiarity with marketing tools, specifically like marketing technology platforms like Adobe, Marketo, or Salesforce, has been very helpful. So, I'll take a step back and I'll talk about my route to becoming a consultant. So, and I know we'll probably dive deeper into this a little later, but I just wanted to briefly mention that I was a part of the song development program for a bit. And in that program, it was a really big push to learn some of these tools so that I could deploy into actual practice. So I'm currently within our marketing advisory practice, and then and I'm within our enablement um, pillar
okay.
underneath that. So overall, it was important for me to have one of those tools under my belt. So I was able to get certified within Adobe Campaign Classic, and it lends itself to other
Ooh.
platforms as well. And so that is one skill that I think has been very helpful in my career and just like the trajectory of being able to become a consultant.
That's
Another,
amazing.
yeah. Um, I would say another thing is project management. So, of course, there are actual project management consultants, but for every project that I've been on, there's always been some piece of project management infused into it
Mhm.
innately. So, just being able to manage multiple projects and measure your deadlines and meet them, and definitely just like coordinate with different teams has been extremely vital to be able to be pretty successful during a project. And the last thing I'll say is creativity. Accenture Song is creative at nature, and so basically just being able to innovate and engage in marketing campaigns that stand out has been a skill set that I've been able to foster and just grow over time.
I love that. The technical piece is really interesting to me as well, is seeing how technology is embedded in so many different functions. And
Yeah.
I probably didn't really have much awareness to what technologies exist within marketing. So it's really cool to hear you mention some of those. Just, if I hear it again, I won't be a stranger. But hopefully for people who are aspiring marketers or working in that area, more creators, hopefully some of those names like Adobe and Salesforce. Hopefully, some of that stuff will be new information for you, where now you can go check that out. And seeing as though that helped Briana, hopefully that'll help you as well. I think something else that's really cool for those who are familiar with what project management is, knowing that project management is embedded into everything you do. When you reach a certain level as a professional, no matter where you are, it's really important just knowing how to be organized, knowing how to understand timing of initiatives, and knowing how to track risk and things of that nature. Some of it is a little technical just due to the different structures that may exist on certain teams you're on and things similar to that. But the essence of being a project manager, in my opinion, is really just being organized and being able to keep track of what's going on. I think just at its core, that's kind of what it is. Now,
Absolutely.
thank you for speaking on those skills. I'm curious to know now, since you were so involved in undergrad at Hampton, I'm curious, and since you graduated, being in the space, being in the marketing area, I'm wondering if there are any programs, associations, things that you feel people should get involved in. If there are aspiring marketers, what are some things that they can join, different organizations that they can participate in, and different opportunities that you're aware of that you think that other people could do?
Yep. So that is a great question. The American Marketing Association is a very reputable organization, and they
Hmm.
did have a chapter at Hampton University. So
Okay.
I would say that is one of the go tos that I would recommend anyone who's interested who's in their career at this point or maybe still on campus and still wants to network with other people, they should have different types of like conferences for meetups and things of that nature as well.
Mhm.
I would also want to emphasize again, just getting very comfortable with like marketing technology. So I would like start out with some boot camps in Marketo or Adobe Campaign Classic and those types of certifications. And there's always a group of professionals who can attend different forums for those specific technologies as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. It's also always interesting hearing what associations exist because it's almost like whatever you choose to study or what profession you go into, you always have like your ecosystem of organizations and uh, clubs, camps, all those things. So when you're not, in other fields, it's always cool seeing what support system exists for those professionals. It's always fascinating to me, kind of how we have like NSBE and stuff like that for
Yeah.
engineers. It's like, oh, what's NSBE for other people? What's like their thing that they build a community in as professionals? So I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious now. We've touched on skills. We've talked about different organizations people can join, things that they can participate in,
Mhm.
all with the hopes of gathering diverse experiences and getting, more embedded into the community that is marketing as a profession. I'm curious now as we touch on different routes that people take to get into marketing. I'm curious what backgrounds do your team members and people within marketing that you've worked with, what backgrounds do they have? You're in business. Some people might just major in marketing. I'm sure there's tons of specifications and let's say concentrations that people can go into. So many different routes for a marketing professional. What backgrounds have you observed? Is everyone a business major? Is everyone a marketing major? I'm curious to
No.
know.
No, that's the really cool part about Accenture is that people are so diverse. What we study can range from being an educator to I've worked with people who are engineers to folks who are English majors. So it
What?
really, yeah, and so it really is a very diverse playground. I'll say that, and it's not like a cookie cutter one size fits all for what
Mhm.
is a good fit from what I've experienced so far. And everyone I worked with has been top notch. They're great at what they do, super intelligent, and capable and competent, no matter what their background has been. So I would say that just lends itself to what consulting is. It's about problem solving and being able to be creative in that nature.
Mhm.
So having different backgrounds just really helps be able to solidify that.
That's really interesting. And because I wonder with the diverse backgrounds and the question being posed for people who want to get into marketing, I wonder how much of that experience of having as many diverse backgrounds that you listed, how much of that is innate in consulting versus like the marketing industry as a whole. And you let me know if you feel like this is maybe the wrong takeaway. But part of me is thinking for a person who wants to get into marketing, you can have a diverse set of backgrounds. It's maybe more about what skills you possess. If you are
Yeah,
familiar with marketing technology, if you're familiar with marketing in general, even if you don't have that piece of paper saying you're a marketing expert, um, if you have some of that project management skill, if you just have some of those skills, they are transferable to marketing in a way that could overcome whatever background or degree you have. Furthermore, in consulting, that could be an opportunity to get into a space that essentially invites diversity of background to be a consultant, whether you're an engineer, whether you're studying medicine, whether you're an educator. Being a consultant, first and foremost, is a field by itself that welcomes diverse individuals and different backgrounds because we work with clients who are different and think differently. And having that diversity really helps enable us to serve our clients even better. So I'm wondering if maybe a person who wants to try out marketing, if consulting is an area of opportunity, if they feel that they have the skills and maybe other conservative organizations, marketing organizations that are like, hey, we only want marketing majors, or, if you notice some of those limitations, maybe being in marketing at a consulting firm is an opportunity for someone to pursue that dream.
absolutely. I
Cool.
agree.
Good. Well, hey, you're the expert here on marketing, so you let me know. But it sounds like maybe I got that right a little bit. So I appreciate you kind of guiding and inspiring that thought that hopefully helps other people. Well, now I'm wondering with your undergrad experience, how involved you were, how accomplished you are, just your general path through Hampton University. If you could go back and give yourself any advice to better prepare for your current role or life, wherever it takes you, what would that advice look like for you?
It would be comfortable with being uncomfortable and not knowing the answer.
Ooh,
I think
bars.
being a business major, it was, and just in general, school, you're always basically studying and you'll know an answer because it's in the textbook. And
Mhm.
it's almost like math sometimes, right? Like, the different methodologies to be able to get to the answer. But as a professional, sometimes the answer is not there and it's up to you to find it. And
Mm.
that's where your creativity comes in, and you get to explore and play and come up with new things that may not exist, right? So I think it's so important to be comfortable with that new way of thinking and new way of working. And I'd also say just learn how to solve problems by immersing yourself into these new settings that you may not be familiar with.
Yeah. I like that. That was sharp and to the point, though you definitely dropped some bars there on being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable or being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that is huge. Um, yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. A little bit of housekeeping here about being a marketing professional for someone who wants to enter into digital marketing, maybe even more specifically become a consultant in digital marketing. How would you describe your career progression? Maybe a person who wants to enter into the same role as you at the same place or in the same industry. How would you describe the career progression from entry level to what? Is it very cookie cutter, like very vertical, or are there a lot of, let's say, branches as you ascend?
Hmm. Yeah. So I'll speak to the career progression that I followed,
Mhm.
coming from off of campus. So if you're doing off campus recruiting, then usually a person will go into a development program. There are multiple development programs that a person could pretty much ascend into.
Yeah.
There's consulting, strategy, song, industry X, technology. But specifically for myself, I started out in consulting and then I pivoted into song because I knew from my background with my internships that it would best fit and align with my overall career goals to be in song. But what that looks like is first coming into the development program as an analyst. And then about after like a year or a year and a half to 2 years, you should be promoted to senior analyst.
Okay.
And then, depending on your career trajectory, usually like a year to 2 years, then you're going to deploy into an actual practice of your choice. And that practice will align with pretty much usually whichever development program that you are within. And from consultant, you're usually there for, I'll say, I would say it depends. I don't want to give like a number and then people like ascend a little bit quicker. But from
Yeah.
what I've seen, for the most part, people are usually consultant for about 3 years. It could be less, it could be more.
Mhm.
And then you ascend into associate manager within Accenture Song. I think within different arms of the company, there are different levels of progression. But within Accenture Song, it's associate manager. And then you go to manager. After manager, you're a senior manager. And then after senior manager, you are a managing director.
Woo woo. Once you hit that MD level.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it does sound like it's a little bit more vertical, and being a consultant myself, I kind of am familiar with that career progression. So I appreciate you calling that out. Um, but that's really insightful. If people are interested in consulting, if you're interested in kind of the intersection of consulting and marketing, it is a little bit more in consulting, very vertical, which I personally appreciate because you feel like, we all have friends who maybe have, let's say, so many unknowns, uncertainties with their career progression and just kind of what to expect from work from a performance standpoint, performance review standpoint. And in consulting, I feel like it is very cut and dry. And I think that is a benefit. You never have to worry about your coins. You don't have to worry about what the milestones are. Um, but yeah, that's really awesome. I know you've been killing it, with the vertical progression. So, maybe your next milestone would be a little bit under that 3-year mark, maybe right on the target, whatever it is. I know you're doing great at it. So thank you for that info. We have our
And
last. Yeah, go ahead. You,
I'm
you
just
got
gonna
some more
say,
gems for us?
to your point, like I think it's so important to note that we do have a really good outline of what our career progression will look like,
Hmm.
and they make it very easy for you to like. They make it very clear what you can aspire to be like for the next level, so
Yep.
that you can just start to assimilate to that as soon as
True.
possible if you're ready to be promoted.
True.
Whereas in different fields, I've definitely noticed from like friends I talk to that from their experience, it's not always as cookie cutter and it's not always as easy to get promoted because there's no real like career career progression outline or rubric. So I
Mhm.
think that is a huge advantage to being in a consulting as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it also makes it difficult to get promoted sometimes when you don't have that, because then managers and leaders are able to incorporate a little bit more bias, a little bit more, hey, you just haven't shown me enough, but this person did show me enough because I weighted what they did over what you did. And you just kind of have a little bit of the imperfection of humans that comes into uh, who gets promoted in career progression, stuff like that. And I think I have heard of that being not as much of a positive experience. So I think if you are able to join somewhere that has really clear career progression and performance expectations, that is a huge benefit. So definitely appreciate it. If you have it, definitely seek it if you don't. But I think that is a huge gem that Briana touched on.
Yep.
Now for our last segment on the pod. It is called the three piece. Very much food inspired. You're from North Carolina, so I think you know a thing or two about this. But I want a three piece for your career though. I want to know 3 words that you would use to describe your career journey thus far.
Yeah. I would say my career journey has been fun. It's been challenging in a great way. I've been able to really stretch myself and grow. And then I'll also say it's been creative because that's what Song is about, Accenture Song is about. And just being able to learn the different avenues of marketing. There's so many moving parts. So I'd say, yeah, it's been fun, challenging, and creative.
I love that. I love that. The spokesperson for Accenture Song, y'all. Look, if y'all trying to do some creative stuff and you want to be a consultant at the same time, doesn't hurt looking at Accenture Song. So shout out to Accenture Song, Accenture, and thank you for that. For those 3 words, it's very fascinating. I always love hearing that from different guests, just like how people describe their careers. It also shares with the audience that hey, people view their careers so differently. So even if you don't have the answer of how your career will go, I think there are certain traits you can aspire to always kind of have when you're looking at different roles, different companies. If you
Yeah.
wanted to be fun, look for fun. If you wanted to be challenging, you can check that box too. And then if you want to be a creator or constantly use innovation and creativity to achieve professional milestones, it's really helpful to be in tune of how you want your career to go. So hopefully, as you all, especially for people who have visited the channel over and over, hopefully the 3 words you get inspires you to identify what are the traits that matter most to you, because you truly are empowered to kind of find the role that fits you and what fits your words of how you want to describe your career. So I appreciate that, Brianna. As we get ready to close, I have 2 really exciting questions for you. The first is, along the way with all of your achievements, your experiences, your learnings, in all of that, who or what has inspired you?
Yes. So I'd say I'd go based off of a recent book that I reread
Mm,
by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's a very
okay.
inspirational author who's written that very well known book. And I've like been diving deeper into all the books he's written so far, just to learn more about financial literacy, personal finance, and explore that entire world a little bit more. And I like that. I just love that he has a very wide perspective on business, and he's able to allow you to kind of see it from a lens of both an employee and an employer. And I think, that's just something that I didn't learn in college. So it's always great to have um, a colorful like background and understand it from different perspectives.
That is really dope because you mentioned something that I think I want to pause and highlight and give you your flowers for is you mentioned rereading a book. You mentioned that some of the lessons you gained from that really help upskill and gain exposure to different things that you didn't get while you were in undergrad.
Mhm.
Despite you being extremely successful, achieving, the grades as well as the opportunities, internships, and stuff like that. I think it really highlights that no matter your path, like you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to get exposed to everything. You're not going to experience everything. Like, and that's not a you problem. Like, that's not a, oh, you're not doing enough and all the things. Like, I definitely encourage you to be intentional. But I think what Briana touched on is she went to go get information that she didn't get in undergrad. Like, she intentionally has been drawn to whether it's reading books, literature, and talking to people and visiting places and going to different sessions and just like you going out to just expand your mind and how you view business and personal finance and all those things. Like, that's amazing. And that is probably one of the things that has contributed to your success and will continue to do so. And I really hope listeners and viewers take that as a point of inspiration that like don't feel bad about not knowing anything you wish you knew. It's just not too late to go start learning about those things. So I think the sooner we're able to, lay pride aside and just embrace the unknown and, go seek that information, I think that's really helpful. So I think that's something that was really helpful to pause on because I think that's something that you've likely demonstrated for a very long time. And I think that probably contributes to a lot of your success. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would agree. To be a lifelong learner is a
Yeah.
journey, and it's definitely beneficial.
Look,
Yes.
it be tiring now. We ain't gonna lie to you, but lifelong learner, you be like, do I need to learn today? Like, can I stop learning for a couple weeks
Let
and
me take a
like
break.
you
Yeah.
feel me? Right. It's like, why do I even care? Like, why am I so curious? Um, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So thank you for answering that inspiration question. Another question I have for you in the next year or two, using that inspiration and being on trajectory that you've been on, where do you see yourself in the next year or two?
Yeah. I would say just continue to be a lifelong learner and
Mhm.
probably getting a new certification or maybe joining a graduate program of some sort just to
Okay.
remain competitive in the marketplace.
Y'all run Brianna her money, bro. Stop playing with her. She out here grinding. Best resume there is and what she doing. Like, I'm gonna hype you up, cheerleader over here. Um, nah, for real. Like, you really have to plan ahead, and I think that speaks to just not being complacent. I don't think it speaks to you doing unnecessary work or you always trying to stay busy and stuff like that. I'm sure
Right.
even in the smallest percentage, that's always a part of why people do anything. But I think it's also just not being complacent. As the times are changing, new technology is coming out, new industry standards are coming out. The world is evolving in a way where whether you're in HR or you're in engineering, something is new going on and there is something that is being phased out. Every time something new comes out, there's probably one little thing that's becoming a little obsolete. So your ability to constantly reinvent yourself and be a lifelong learner and just always be curious and wondering, how can I remain competitive, which is a very extremely intentional word that you chose to use there, remaining competitive, that is acknowledging that things are changing and that your skill set today, while it is a great, let's say, group of skills, that there's always more you can add to your tool belt.
Mhm.
So that's really cool. In the next year or two, you focus on kind of what you will be doing to get better and continue to remain competitive. So I'm excited to see where you continue to end up over the years. I'll see you at the top, right? It'd be great continuing to see updates.
Yes.
So, next question I have for you is, you've been here pouring into the pod, to the viewers, and I know that you will and have inspired a lot of people, especially even off of this episode. So, if people want to get connected with you and keep track of kind of your success and your different professional movements, maybe even reach out, what's a way that they can do that?
Yes, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn at Briana Wills. So it's Briana Wills, Wills. There's a couple of us on there, but I'm the one that works at Accenture.
Okay, all right.
I'm always open to like connecting, not only just connecting, but also chatting. So feel free to DM me with any questions you may have, or if there's any programs that I've been a part of that you're interested in, I'd love to help you get connected as well. So yeah, LinkedIn is a great place for us to get connected.
Amazing, amazing. All right. Well, very last before we drop, do you have anything else to share with the people before we wrap up here?
I'd say maintain your confidence in all that you do. Be sure that you take your time to rest. If you have any resources available to you to take personal time off or a leave of absence slash a sabbatical, anything of that nature, feel free to take advantage of it and be sure to maintain your mental health and prioritize finding outlets that help you unwind as you're continuing to strive, because high performers sometimes do need to breathe, and it's important for us to figure out how we can do that for ourselves. So always maintain your downtime.
Brianna, didn't anybody tell you come on here and preach now? I'm asking for career stuff, and you over here speaking gems, like speaking life into people.
Yeah.
There's no better way to wrap than to tell y'all, please take care of yourself. This is a
Mhm.
marathon, not a sprint. Life is hard, it is
Yes, yes,
tiring. Being a high performer, being ambitious, all the things that drive us, it's very emotional and it just takes up a lot of energy, you know?
yes.
Um, but don't run on the hamster wheel as if you have to. Like, take care of yourself, be intentional about where your goals are, and just know that whatever your goals are, no matter how ambitious you are, there is no achievement without you. If you run yourself into the ground, it doesn't matter what you achieve. So just take care of yourself. This is just like a well-being check, if you will. So thank you, Brianna, for embodying that as we wrap. And this was amazing. This was super fun. This was a huge treat for me to get you on the pod. This is actually our first time meeting, so it's great to know that we're now in each other's network. So I will be reaching out to stay in touch, and I hope people connect with you on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Yeah, yeah. No, we had a great time for sure. Well, all right, we'll stay in touch, and I'll be seeing you around.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for stopping in for another episode of One Fourth Careers Podcast. I hope that this episode was enlightening for you. I hope you learned something. The second, let's say, marketing adjacent person that I've had, really exciting again to always dive into these various functions and industries. I learned so much. I don't think I knew really much about marketing technologies. That's something that kind of stuck with me, that I was like, oh, how cool. Didn't really know these existed, or I knew they did, but didn't know, I couldn't reference not a single one. And what we ended with on well-being, super important. I think just all in all, end to end, this was an amazing conversation. I hope you all connect with Brianna on LinkedIn. Again, even just through that social media portal, like, you'll see how amazing she is and what she's accomplished. And I'm sure that if you reach out and connect, you'll see how amazing she is, even outside of just accomplishments and things of that nature. So I hope this episode was inspiring for you. Leave a comment below if you want to hear from anyone else from like another field. Love capturing really diverse backgrounds. Like, comment, subscribe, and appreciate you guys for checking in. Much love to you. So as always, stay happy, stay blessed. Peace, family.